Joining me now, John Davidson, political editor for The Federalist, KARL Rove, former Deputy Chief of Staff for George W. Bush and a Fox News contributor, and Morgan Ortagus, former State Department spokesperson. I want to talk to you all about this revelation that has happened tonight, but I want to start with you, Morgan, because I know that you were instrumental in trying to get this information out of the State Department in the waning days of the Trump administration. This has to be an infuriating day for you in terms of the revelations in these emails.
Yeah, I actually came back off of maternity leave really to focus on this with Secretary Mike Pompeo, and also for the designation that we did of genocide in Xinjiang for what has happened with the Uyghurs there. And really I have to tell you that Secretary Pompeo, I sat with him every day for almost 2 years, and he really led on this very, very early on, even when we were at the Munich Security Conference in February, before the world was talking about COVID-19. Secretary Pompeo was saying in meetings and telling all of us, you know, that he smelled a rat, that the evidence did not add up. We actually started putting in his speeches before other government officials were talking about it, warning what the Chinese Communist Party would do. And what was really frustrating is we saw, and again, you could see this through the whistleblowers in China, the courageous doctors who came forward only to lose their lives or to be disappeared or to be fired. We had courageous Chinese citizens, doctors, scientists who were coming forward to tell the world what happened. They were silenced by the Chinese Communist Party, and whenever we decided to withdraw funding from the WHO because we knew that they were accepting China's lies, and by accepting those lies, more people were getting infected with COVID and dying from COVID, we were vilified for withdrawing from the WHO. We made the case all of last year, but as you said in your monologue, Ben, it didn't fit the political narrative at the time, and it's incredibly frustrating now to be proven right.
KARL, I know that you have paid attention so much to the fact that there are no consequences for so many of these bureaucrats who are supposed to serve us, but seem to have other priorities in mind. This is an incredibly infuriating moment to read through these things and see this play out. What can happen in terms of a political consequence now when it comes to someone like Anthony Fauci, who's been put on such a pedestal by the media and by this current administration?
Well, first of all, you know, we're trying to assign blame, and we haven't yet, though I've been long convinced that Tom Cotton is right. I've got a friend who's studied this whole issue for years and has been deeply concerned about the Wuhan lab, because we have previous experience and evidence that it was not up to snuff when it came to handling these dangerous pathogens. But we have yet to prove this, and we may not be able to prove this unless we take some very affirmative steps, not only by the United States by itself, but the international community as well. So look, we can stay stuck about what did Dr. Fauci know and when did he know it, but that's not really the important thing. I mean, take, for example, this exchange that he has with the intermediary who's received the funding and passed it on to the Wuhan lab. He makes a statement Fauci makes a statement saying the most likely outcome is that they made a natural jump from animal to human. And then he gets the email saying, thanks for knocking down the conspiracy theory. And his response is, well, thank you for your nice note. Well, what we do know is it did make a natural jump from an animal to a human. In all likelihood, it happened, however, inside the Wuhan lab, and 3 people got sick and went to the hospital in November of 2019. A month before the Chinese admitted that they had somebody in the hospital at all. They say the first person shows up in early December, December 8th, I think it is, of 2019. So, you know, I'm not convinced. Maybe it was deliberately engineered as a bioweapon, but I think it was probably incompetence, and the Chinese don't want to look incompetent. But the question is, how do we get to the bottom of this? And Tom Cotton, again, has talked about specific things we need to do. I think that's where the focus needs to be.
And we're going to see,
there are lots of people who misread this.
I think that there's a situation here where we may not get to the bottom of this, John, because of the Biden administration's decisions in terms of the way that they have approached the investigation here, wanting to outsource it to the WHO that we all know is being conflicted by China and has been historically. What do you think about this situation?
Well, I think you really can't have a republic like this when you have a press corps that won't ask any questions. You have an administration that was going to put faith in something like the WHO, and you have an administrative state and, you know, emperor god kings like Fauci who don't feel like they owe anybody an explanation. But the American people deserve an explanation. There's a lot of questions that should be asked right now. First of all, what in the world are we doing funding the Wuhan Institute of Virology in the first place? So they got this sub-grant from EcoHealth Alliance to do gain-of-function research. What, could China not fund that themselves? Why on earth are we funding these things? I think the American people have a right to understand why our massive bureaucracy is making decisions and potentially funding research that caused a global pandemic that brought our economy to its knees and killed millions of people all over the world. We need to start asking questions. Anthony Fauci may not think he owes anyone an explanation, but we need to demand one of him.
I think that, unfortunately, we have reached a point in this country where the decay of our trust in institutions is something that is almost impossible to stop. And I worry that something like this, playing out in front of people on such a prominent issue, is only going to make it worse. Morgan, Karl, John, thank you so much for taking the time to join me this evening.
Thanks.
Thank you.